Hello and welcome to FiveJay Gaming. I'm FiveJay and today we're going to take a look at my top picks for Switch games of 2017. Now there were a lot of great games in 2017 and I feel like I need to split them into different categories before I present them to you. So overall, my 2017 top picks on the Switch are actually going to be in three different videos. The first one is going to be AAA titles, big name brand titles. The second category is going to be indie titles, and the third category is going to be ports, games that came out before and were ported over to the Switch. So this is part one, my AAA picks for the Nintendo Switch. And in some ways, it's kind of the easiest group to pick out of because there were only so many high-level big game company releases on the Switch. Number one, you can probably guess, probably one of two games, right? Well, for me, it has to be Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. It was an amazing experience to me because it reminded me a lot of my first experience with Ocarina of Time. Getting into this world and actually being so surprised with the amount of adventure I'm having, my exploration. It felt huge to actually play in this world. All these feelings and experiences I had when I played the original Ocarina of Time way back in the day, I didn't think I would ever have this experience again. And lo and behold, Nintendo delivered. And it wasn't just for me. Everybody I knew, including people that I didn't even know played video games because they never talked about video games, they had the same experience and they couldn't stop talking about it. And I saw people playing hundreds of hours of this game and they're not really even gamers. It was crazy. So it was an amazing experience that everyone kind of shared together, and that sort of thing only comes along once in a while. So I definitely have to put Breath of the Wild as my top pick. Game number two for me is Super Mario Odyssey. Yeah, well, tough pick, right? The two great games, two totally different styles. Playing Super Mario Odyssey was really amazing. I mean, it reminded me a lot of Super Mario 64, but it's not on the same scale as Breath of the Wild in that it didn't remind me of my first time ever playing Super Mario 64. I was blown away in those days from that transition into 3D and never playing a game like that. So it wasn't quite on that same scale, but it was like a really good, amazing sequel to Super Mario 64. The sequel we all wanted and deserved, and it was really well executed. So much nostalgia all over the place. So it was just really well crafted, and you could see the care that they put into the game, and I really loved it. Third for me only makes this list because it is put out by a large company, even though technically it was developed by a very small number of folks, at least for the most part. There was definitely assistance from a lot of other folks. What am I talking about? I'm talking about Sonic Mania. Sonic Mania is the best Sonic game since Sonic was at his peak in the 90s. It's my favorite Sonic game, I have to say. It's so well executed on all the things that Sonic did right back in those days, and it avoided so well all the things that Sonic had been doing wrong for so long. It's too bad we can't quite get there with the 3D games, but I'm really happy to get another 2D Sonic, which is just incredible. Once again, the amount of detail, the amount of nostalgia, they mix in so many elements from so many other Sonic games in there, and it all just feels so good. And there's so many unlockables, and it's so satisfying to play this game. And the fact that you can play as any combination of characters in the mainline Sonic games, Sonic by himself, Sonic plus Tails, just Tails, Knuckles. It's really cool. And then you pretty much see a cameo of every other character that's been in the series, in the 2D series at least. It was just so very well done, and I have to give props to Christian Whitehead and the other folks in Cannon Head Games for developing such an amazing love letter to the Sonic series. Number 4 for me is Mario plus Rabbids Kingdom Battle. This one was something where we saw everyone change their thought as soon as we actually saw what the game was. It was rumored for so long out. There was just leaks everywhere. We had the title. We had like slides of what the game elements were kind of going to be like. It was amazing the amount of stuff that leaked out about this game and how upset everyone was about this game that had these Rabbids, which I too don't particularly care for. But in the end, the game was actually awesome. And some of the rabbit stuff was even endearing. Some of the jokes and whatnot were kind of fun. But on the whole, it didn't matter because the Mario elements were so good. The tactical elements were so good. The one thing I wished I could have had was a whole team of actual Mario characters, because if you actually look at the characters of Mario, Peach, and Luigi, they're like a perfect team. They complement each other perfectly, but you can't actually have that team, unfortunately. So that's the one downside for me, but otherwise, it's just a really wonderful game. The exploration is simple. It's not a Mario game in the traditional sense in the slightest. So it's just kind of there to hide a couple of secrets away, pretty much. The puzzles aren't very much to worry about. The shining factor here, the gem is that amazing combat. The combos that you set up later in the game are so good. And that final battle was really, really well done. Everything about the game. They put in a versus mode. That's so cool. So absolutely hats off to those folks over at Ubisoft for delivering a great Mario experience that is completely unique for the series. Number 5 for me is ARMS, the wacky extendable arm fighting game on Nintendo Switch. One of the first Nintendo exclusive titles we really saw, and what a head scratcher. What a weird idea. But in the end, it's actually really fun. The fighting is simple as far as what you can really do. You're jumping, you're dodging, you're throwing one of two arms. It's really not all that complicated. But there's a lot of depth to the timing and what arms are good against other arms, and reading your opponent. It's really, really cool. And the fact that you have such distance involved in the fights is really, really cool. It's such a strange concept, but I can't help but get the feeling that it must have started with a Punch-Out game. It feels like they said, let's do Punch-Out, but let's crank it up about 12 notches. And then they decided it didn't fit with the branding anymore, and so they made a whole new concept out of it. I don't know how it came out to be, but that's what it feels like when you're playing it. Some way over-the-top Punch-Out game, which is already an over-the-top boxing game. So I just had a lot of fun playing online. I really love the hoops mode and the exploding volleyball mode. I love it. So it's a really fun game. I hope they add more content and fighters to it, because I think it deserves to live on for a long time. Number 6 for me is Xenoblade Chronicles 2. I love that Xenoblade became a thing. Long ago, Xenoblade Chronicles on the Wii was out in Japan and out in Europe in English, and it wasn't going to come to America. They said that it had been multiple years since the game had come out, and they weren't bringing it over. So when they actually did bring it over, I'm really glad that it became a series that got a 3DS version of that same game. It got X, a spin-off open world game, and now we have Xenoblade Chronicles 2, which is the most anime game of the series by far. It is a living anime, but it is a really cool game. Now, when it comes to RPGs, people have their own particular tastes. Maybe you don't like the battle system in this game. Maybe. I personally like it. I think it's fast and frenetic. I think that it's very active. It feels really natural that your characters are just attacking all the time, and you're just choosing the more interesting things for your character to do. I think it's really good. I really like the characters. Pyra has really great voice acting. Character designs aside, there's some controversy there about how they designed Pyra and so forth. Don't care about that business. Don't care. It's an interesting story. It's a huge, beautiful world. It's a really fun RPG, and bang for your buck. If you want one game to put on your Switch that'll last you a very, very, very long time, Xenoblade Chronicles 2 will last you a very long time, especially if you're obsessed with side quests. There are so many. There are so many. I'm not even that far in that game, and I love it this much. There's just so much to do. So you can really sink your teeth into this game and just enjoy this world for everything that it's worth. 7 for me is a game that almost shouldn't be on this list here. But for one reason, I'm going to put it on here. That game for me is Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. And the only reason it makes this AAA list instead of the ports list is because of the battle mode. Because this battle mode is a totally new addition that wasn't in the original Mario Kart 8. It's almost like a remaster in that respect because it's a totally new multiplayer mode that was sorely lacking and has been a fan favorite feature since the original on Super Nintendo. I always loved playing the Super Nintendo battle mode as well as Super Mario 64. I would love it if they would put out those tracks as DLC. Or maybe in Mario Kart 9, they expand upon the battle mode. I get the feeling they're kind of done with Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. I don't think we're going to see any DLC coming there, so maybe Mario Kart 9 will get me that block fort, baby. I want block fort. The online is great. I love that they added types of battle modes that we've never seen before. You can spend a lot of time with your friends playing each of these individual types of battle modes. Or you can just do a mixed battle mode where it just shuffles through everything. And you can play for hours and hours and hours, and it is so much fun. So as much fun as Mario Kart 8 was, Deluxe takes the cake. So those are my top picks for AAA games on Nintendo Switch in 2017. What did you think of the list? Did I leave out some? Would you take some off of what I have? Let me know in the comments below, and I'll catch you next time.